Like Habakkuk says in chapter 2 there, he says, when he gives you a vision, he says, write it down. But it's for an appointed time. You have to know the times and the seasons so that you come out seasoned, well equipped, well mature, for to carry out that assignment.
So when you go through the seasons of God successfully, you come out seasoned.
Yes.
Hello, welcome to yet another episode of the Saints and the Kingdom. We are very grateful. We are happy that you've joined us on this particular episode. And my name is Esther Morakinyo. I am a trustee of the Joshua Generation. Together here with me on this panel, we have a team, and I just want them to introduce themselves. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Karibuni sana. My name is Susan Kibuga. I'm the Director of Administration at the Joshua Generation, and we'd like to hear from you. So we'd like you to make comments. If you have any questions, we have our social media platforms running right here on your screen. In case you'd like to write us an email, there's an email address also there, and we'll be more than glad to get back to you.
That's right. It's good to be back again. My name is Reverend Eric Kibuga. Now I'm the Director of Missions at the Joshua Generation.
Wonderful. I'm Niyi Morakinyo. I'm one of the trustees of the Joshua Generation. And with this wonderful panel again, we're here to talk again on purpose, to continue the discussion on purpose. Mm-hmm. And today we are looking at purpose as a journey, where it takes place and when, how it happens. Mm-hmm. Somebody once said something that struck me. Purpose is not just one single event in a person's life. We are talking of the reason for which God made us, but it's a whole journey. It's a life journey, having different phases in it. And what we seek is to be in the center of God's purpose at time.
In Psalm 23, you allow me to read it. In verse 3, it says, He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. So when we talk about purpose, we can say that purpose is actually a path of righteousness that God will lead you into. And the fulfillment of that purpose, like it has been said, is not in at once. It doesn't happen all at once. So purpose is not a destination over there somewhere where I'll end up at. Every single fulfillment, every single day of your life that you're walking in obedience, being led by God, you are fulfilling purpose. No matter how insignificant it may appear to you or to others, you are actually fulfilling purpose as you do that. So it's a journey.
Like you mentioned, purpose is not an event.
Absolutely.
And it's not a destination.
Yes.
It's a process, it's a journey that leads you from one step towards the ultimate. Just like, if you look at it in life, no one is born as this perfect, mature, tall, dark, handsome, beautiful, person. No one is born that way. We're all born as babies. But then we don't say, oh, too bad, I wasn't born the way I wanted to be, full grown, full developed, able to run, a few things here and there. No. We all grow through different phases, but then they all lead us towards, a beautiful life.
And one of the things, like you're mentioning, the purpose is not a destination. So it's not an arrival point, which many times as believers, we keep waiting for that one day when I will fulfill that purpose. But what are you doing on an everyday basis? Because it's what I do today adds up to my purpose. What I do tomorrow adds up to my purpose. The seasons of God, what I do per season that God has for me will ultimately lead to the fulfillment of that purpose.
I love the way someone said, you don't, I think it was Dr. Myers' model, you don't start purpose from the top. You grow in it. You know, we asked somebody one day, we said, the only thing you start from the top is either digging a hole or a grave. Though one day somebody gave something different. He said, I said, the only thing you start from the top? Someone said, licking ice cream. You know, that was a joke. But anyway, you know, purpose is like a ladder. You climb up. It's a journey. Every day you take a step fulfilling God's plan for your life, and each step is like a phase. And that's why I tell people, I said, you know, purpose is something that we live daily. Every day, living for the purpose or the reason for which God made me.
Ecclesiastes chapter 3 actually says, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. That's Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and in verse 1. You know, it's just like what you're saying, Reverend Susan. What we're actually saying is that the fulfillment of purpose is in seasons. It's in phases. It's not something that happened all at once. And you know, a lot of people tend to get very discouraged. You know, even when they're at the beginning of fulfilling purpose. So here you are. You've come to a place where you know what it is that God has ordained for you to do. And because the beginnings are so simple, the beginnings are so humble, the beginnings are not seemingly glorious to yourself or to somebody else, then it's easy for you to give up. It's easy for you to say, you know, I'm waiting until the day I get to the end, to that place where I'm glorious. Then I'm fulfilling purpose.
You know, as you said that, I just thought of my own example. When I was in primary school, I was always looking forward to when I'll be in high school. And I was always dreaming because I thought life is better, it's more simple for them. When I got to high school, I couldn't wait to get into college. When I got into college, I was waiting, when will I get my first salary? When will I do my first job? And you know, so when you look at it, the danger behind looking at purpose as a set destination is that you don't enjoy the rest of the journey.
Absolutely.
And so you don't maximize the moments you have. I use my own analogy of school, but you don't maximize your seasons that God has ordained for you because you're waiting for the big break.
Wow. So journey is purpose is a journey made up of many seasons. You know, there is a season, for example, you are going to be a great apostle one day. Before that great apostle, maybe you're first going to be a pastor of a church. Maybe before becoming a pastor of a church, you're going to be maybe somewhere serving under a pastor of a church, learning as a pastor in training, maybe attending Bible school before that. All these are seasons along your pathway or journey of purpose. And in each of them, you are still in purpose. When you are a child in the home of your parents, before you become a married person and a parent, you are still in purpose, learning. In that place of apprenticeship, it's a place of purpose. I think that's where sometimes people miss it. We are waiting for one big event, not knowing that purpose is being every day in the center of God's will, doing what God wants you to do, doing the right thing, the right time, and the right place. And that's where we have to be careful that we don't run ahead to go and do some of the big things. You said to every time, to every
there is a season and a purpose under heaven, and a time to every purpose under heaven.
Yes, so you see, we have to get that right. Something God shows you, some of the things God shows you, some of the events along your path of purpose may not be for now. You might rush ahead to do them and you are out of time. You are doing a good thing, but at the wrong time, it's still wrong in the eyes of God.
You know, I'm thinking about myself. I am right now. I'm a member of the clergy, but I wasn't always a member of the clergy. And when I look at the things that, you know, I find myself doing in this space of being a clergy, I find myself interacting with people, talking to people. I find myself sometimes even having to do some creative work. Because when I was growing up, the thing that I did when I was growing up, my inception into the path that I'm on right now, was actually the place of art. So the gifts of art were already in me, but the gifts also of talking. I loved being with people, socializing, talking to people, and actually sorting people's problems. That's something I loved to do. And I realized that when I look at my life, because there's a time you find that here you are, now you're doing maybe art. Then, like for myself, I did graphics, you know, when I was in college, and I loved it and enjoyed it. Then later on in life, I found that God led me still to practice something else, which was actually the music ministry. Then later on, that is where actually I had the privilege of
meeting this wonderful gentleman.
This wonderful gentleman. And it's while I was in the music ministry. And from there, then I found myself in the area of full-time clergy work. But when I look at it, I realize that it's like a jigsaw puzzle. And all these pieces are very critical for the building of the entire puzzle.
Without one, you can't
You cannot.
And sometimes that's the issue that happens with a believer, because you're at one particular stage. For example, God has called you, and part of your purpose is in the area of business.
Yes.
But for you to arrive at this place of business, you still have to go through school, you need to go through apprenticeship.
Yes.
But sometimes you want to skip the season of apprenticeship and run quickly and start your own business, because this is my purpose, this is what God called me to do.
Yeah.
But once you skip that, then you become prepared for what God has called you to do. And sometimes we despise all these faces that God gives to us. Not knowing it's like a thread, through a material that adds up to the whole stitching. And so if you skip one face and not realizing that that's part of your purpose, then ultimately you're not fulfilled.
In fact, when you skip one space, you create a vacuum.
Yes.
In fact, each phase also prepares you for the next phase.
one. Yeah.
I love the way someone said, and when you watch God creating the earth, each day was like a phase, which was a foundation for the next day or the next phase. You could put all those days of creation like phases. God was working towards his purpose of establishing his kingdom on the earth, or rather, re-establishing his kingdom on the earth. Ultimately, he wanted to put man to govern the earth. But before putting man, he made sure every other thing was already there. He couldn't start from man. I mean, he first separated the waters to have dry land before he could grow the grass. He had to put grass in another phase before putting the herbivorous animals. You see, and every other thing had to be ready before you got there for purpose. That is
everything.
That's the trap that as human beings we get caught up in. We have a picture of how the end should be like, somewhat. Just like God.
Sometimes we get a glimpse of where God is taking us.
Just like God, in his mind, had it as the trophy of his creation to put man. And man was going to be the final act of creation that, that's what was going to be the highlight. But God didn't begin with man. And so many times we had a glimpse of the end. And so like Reverend Susan said, so I will, because I've seen myself as this successful businessman, having my own, group of companies worldwide. And so I may not want the season of apprenticeship when I'm employed by someone else to learn the skills, learn, develop character, develop the competencies that I need. So because of the glimpse of the future, I may want to bypass that.
Because
but
actually,
you're not ready to go phase by phase and time by time.
But I like how you say we can look at God's own example. And so in that regard, purpose is not when we get to the end. Purpose is from the day we started. All of that were journeys and phases
along
in
the
purpose.
journey of purpose. I think Joseph's own is the one that excites me. It's also another good example. The son of Jacob, who became prime minister in Egypt. You see his journey. Yes, God showed him a dream. And in that dream, it was like God's ultimate part of his purpose for him. He showed him one of the events that will take place. How he will become a great man. His father, his mother, his brothers will bow to him. Or he was telling him when he will become prime minister in Egypt. God was going to take him there to solve a problem and carry out a service towards mankind. Like we say about purpose. Purpose brings where you carry out service towards mankind. You solve problems. But God didn't start him there. Before he made him prime minister, God took him through phases. I normally say he took him through pits. When his brothers threw him into the pit, he took him through pit nursery school. Then he became a slave. Pit nursery. And then he became a slave. That's slave primary school. And then he went to Potiphar's house. That's Potiphar secondary school. And of course, when he passed his test, not to touch Potiphar's wife, he got promoted for passing that exam. I went to prison, university. Yes, it was a promotion to prison, university. And all all these stages were still within purpose. They were all training places, foundations. And in each and every one, if we had enough time, we can go through the different lessons, shaping of character, learning of how to interpret dreams, learning agricultural economics in Potiphar's house, many things that helped him ultimately serve and successfully carry out the other later part of his purpose as Prime Minister of Egypt.
And that's very critical, because I know I just asked, the prison primary, did you call it prison primary?
Yes. No, prison was
university.
Yes.
Prison university, apparently you said God promoted him.
Yes,
so
from Potiphar's house.
Yes. So prison was actually a promotion.
Yes.
Yes, because when he went to prison, he actually had now the opportunity now that presented itself with the baker and the cupbearer of the king to interpret Pharaoh's cupbearer and the baker to interpret the dreams. That's where he was exercised. So that by the time Pharaoh dreamt the dreams he dreamt, then they were able to remember and to call him and say, there's a young man here, in prison, who is able to interpret dreams. It looked like a funny thing.
Notice when he was with his mom and dad and brothers, and he had the first dream. He never interpreted it. He could dream, but he couldn't interpret. He learned interpretation later.
While he was in prison, in a place that looked so low. It didn't look like a place of promotion.
All those stages expanded him, his capacity to handle what was ultimately coming, and to be able to successfully carry it out. And I tell you something, if he touched Potiphar's wife, then that means he will have he will have failed. But that will mean the only thing he couldn't touch in Potiphar's house was the wife. And if he touched that means ultimately when he became prime minister, he will have touched Pharaoh's throne. Because the only thing he couldn't touch in Pharaoh's kingdom was the throne. So you see, his faithfulness in not touching Potiphar's house was actually what God used to develop him so he won't touch the throne. Because when things ran out in Egypt and people came to him, he could have just lifted himself above Pharaoh. He could have influenced the people negatively.
Am I not the one sorting
I'm sorting your problems and removed Pharaoh from the throne. But this was a faithful man who had been tested earlier in Potiphar's house.
Or he could even have actually become corrupt, and actually began to use the resources of Egypt
for himself.
And the Bible tells us that he actually used those resources to bring the influence of Egypt as a strong empire. Of Egypt as a strong empire.
Preserve Israel
and
also.
Preserve Israel, his
the
own
lineage
nation,
of the kingdom.
The lineage of the kingdom through which Jesus would later then be born. So
you can see every stage was developing capacity in him. Faithfulness in little in Potiphar's house was the faithfulness you see later. And that's why people who miss these stages normally have problems in successfully handling the events of purpose, even navigating their way into it and also sustaining, because they missed lessons along the way.
And I think we have to be careful, because society is becoming more materialistic. It's becoming, everything must be done fast. So this also is translating into the success models we have. Everyone wants quick success, and not realizing that in the development, in the plan of God for your life, God wants you to be successful.
He does.
But in being successful, He will not break His ways. Just like we saw with Joseph.
His order will not be broken.
Will not be broken. Just like we saw it with Joseph. God will follow the same sequences, not necessarily put in prison, but then phases in the journey of life, all which are part of your purpose, part-time, to make you that successful man, successful woman that you are.
And I think we have to be balanced sometimes, that when we see certain events in our life, like Habakkuk says in Habakkuk, we'll get there in some later part of this episodes, but like Habakkuk says in chapter 2 there, he says, when he gives you a vision, he says, write it down. But it's for an appointed time. You have to know the times and the seasons so that you come out seasoned, well equipped, well mature, for to carry out that assignment.
So when you go through the seasons of God successfully, you come out seasoned.
Yes.
So you can be able to be an influence on the earth to others effectively.
Yes.
You're equipped.
Well baked. You can put ingredients many in a cake, like, and you have the right to put it in the oven, but you don't allow it to stay its time. When you bring out the cake early before it's time, it will collapse. You know, it will collapse inside. It's raw. It doesn't taste well. I think I know a bit about baking.
Or you come out incomplete. You're fully complete.
But many times people separate the two things. They separate what I'm doing at this particular season with my purpose.
Yes.
So there's no correlation between the two. I'm thinking about the story of Moses, how he went to Pharaoh's house, and that's where he learned to write and read. And
while he was in Pharaoh's house.
Pharaoh's house. Yet it was preparing him. He's the same one who wrote the 10 Commandments.
Yes, he did.
If he had skipped that particular stage, I didn't know how God would have gone about it.
James chapter 1 says, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. Then it says in verse 4, it says, but let patience have full work. It says that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. And this is one of the greatest challenges I can say for most people. Being patient to allow God's season to actually have his full
God
work.
has called me to be great. When is greatness going to come?
Yes.
But they need to have patience.
Yes.
And be patient in light of what God is doing on you. Sometimes it's actually character that needs to be molded within us. Sometimes it's just confidence.
Yes.
You know God has called you and He's going to use you, to influence people. But sometimes you need to sit under someone who will teach you that confidence. For a season.
Yes.
In even what you're bringing up,
I
think for me part of my contention is when people, one, are not willing to put in the time, the patience to develop that. But then another key concern for me is while all that is going on, they disconnect that from being purpose. This is still purpose.
Yes.
The fact that, it doesn't seem, I don't seem
Easy.
to be at that final end, that destiny, doesn't mean that this is less of purpose. Somebody once said that there are not many mountains. I don't know if there is any mountain that you just take a vertical climb. You'll always have a vertical climb and then you plateau. Vertical climb, then you plateau.
At some point, there'll be some form of a plateau.
Yes. And then you'll find with the up and down, the up and down, within no time you find yourself at the top. But most people's picture of climbing, the mountain of purpose is I'll just be there in no time.
Wow.
So when they get the plateau, they get stranded. Not knowing, like you mentioned, the plateau, whether it's Joseph in prison, whether it's David in the caves, yet he was anointed to be king, whether it's Moses with Jethro's cattle. And many people look at that and they say, I'm not in purpose. I'm going to look for something else that works.
Absolutely, very
wow,
true.
Wonderful. I would like us to say something as we are coming to the end of this episode, but maybe we can all say something to the people at home, just as a roundup towards this part of the episode.
Maybe I can just say this in closing on my part. I was just going to say what Pastor Eric was saying about the place of the mountain, and just say that even when climbing the highest mountains in the world, like Mount Everest is the highest peak on the earth, the highest mountain in the world. And even when climbing that mountain, you find that they'll always have what they call base camp. Then they have different camps along the path of the mountain as you're climbing, that now where you rest, recuperate, get some strength, and then plan the next level of the climb. So this is what we are saying in the place of that. Look, there'll be a time whereby as you climb, you rest a little bit. Now, with every place of climbing, you acclimatize to the climb. You're acclimatizing. You're becoming much more. The capacity in you to climb this mountain is actually being built as you're doing that. But I just want to appeal to those maybe that you're watching at home, be patient. Patience is a very critical component of the fulfillment of God's purpose for your life.
I just want to say this, like we're saying, purpose is not, it's not a destination. You don't just arrive at it on day one. Just like a baby, the baby starts to grow, starts to walk. They don't look at their feet the first day they walk and, they discover they're not walking and say, this thing is not for me because you didn't walk on day one. You keep trying, you keep pursuing it. And just to say this, whatever season you are in, never despise humble beginnings. Never despise humble beginnings. Jesus was born in a manger. It looked like, who is this? Who's been born? But later on, he actually became the Messiah, the Savior of the world. So let's go at it step by step.
I think I like everything that's being said, and it's making me think about Jesus. I mean, the Bible says, looking unto Jesus, who is the author and finisher of our life. And I always marvel that this Jesus was no less a son of God at birth than he was at the cross. But yet, it still took him phases.
Yes.
We heard about him first when he became 12.
12 years old.
After
the
that,
next time he's
he was
30, about
30.
30 years old.
After that, 3.5 years of active ministry, and it's done. And so, don't give up. Wherever you are in, the key thing is find God's purpose for you, and whatever phase you may be in, move through it. It will prepare and equip you for the final destination.
Wow, wonderful. I love what the panelists have said, and I think those of us at home and those listening anywhere, I pray we'll be able to run with these principles as we are faithful in little assignments God gives us. He takes us into the larger ones. That's the way He's planned it, phase by phase. It's broken down into stages, into phases. Well, we'd love to hear from you, like we said at the beginning. Please write to us. Our email address will be shown on the screen. Our Facebook, Twitter, and all that pages. You can write to us on social media, and also please our website and even our YouTube channel where you can watch previous parts of S&K, Saints and the Kingdom. But we'd love to hear from you, whether it's your questions, whether it's your comments, feedback, and we'll be able to see how to answer some of them or incorporate them into the program. It enables us to know what your heartbeat is and you know what you are asking, and by His grace we'll be able to answer some of those questions. So again, we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Saints and the Kingdom, and we'll be continuing on purpose, but on another interesting angle of purpose. Amen. So look forward to seeing you again. We all say, Kwairini, see you. God bless you.